Okay, so what really happens when you come to Christ? This is a question I asked myself because I was I was like, okay, I want to know what happens neurologically, biologically to us. It's when we come to Christ, of course, spiritually what happens, but what actually happens to us at a biological level. I wanted some facts and some evidence when we do come to Christ. And what I mean by coming to Christ is realizing the truth, realizing the truth of how creation actually works. Specifically, there's a creator God and there's creation, and Jesus Christ is the creator God. And what really happens and the evidence for that. And so, interesting fact here, there's studies that actually show that the more we have a spiritual life, we actually lower our depression and our anxiety. I know for myself that the deeper relationship I go to my creator, and to get to know him relationally, not religious. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about relationship. That my anxiety has massively dropped, and it's just an easier. My relationship to it has drastically changed. You may want to notice as you guys build a relationship with the Creator, what it does for your level of anxiety, because we're no longer just depending on ourselves. We actually realize that we are looked after, and it's actually biological. Fascinating for me. And so the big question that I had was, if Jesus really changes everything, wouldn't that show up in real life? And there's some people that are very religious. I'm not talking about religion, where oftentimes they seem very legalistic and rude and judgmental. And ultimately, uh, there is a design law. I would actually say like gravity that would become what we worship. So creation itself, Jesus, is actually a God of love, liberty, and truth. And I'm talking about when we worship the Creator as that. Does it show up in real life? And the answer to my life is it absolutely does. Friends, relationships, deeper fulfillment, and if God's will, money, resources, they do happen if they're meant to. God's will, they're not part of it, but we become different than we become distinct from our circumstances. Before building a relationship with the Creator, it's like the world, it's like a leaf in the wind. And I've noticed that the more I develop a deeper relationship with Him, that the wind can blow, but it's unfazing. And so the brain actually scans how the regular prayer and connection with God can literally change the structure of the brain, boosting compassion, clarity, and peace. So that's interesting. So what it's basically saying is that when we have regular prayer, it shifts our brain structure, allowing us to have more compassion, peace, and clarity. So I know for myself before Christ, and I've tried, 50 plus ayahuasca ceremonies, DMT, Wachuma, Sonora Desert Toad, meditation, all that stuff. And it was still a struggle, no matter how many books I read, meditation, diet, specific diets, it was still a struggle. Um, and life still has its struggles, but my relationship to the struggles have shifted. Have you begun to notice that even if there's struggle, there's still a deep inner peace? I didn't know it, but I had there's almost this God-shaped hole in my heart. And ultimately, when he fills that, it changes things. The mind is set on the flesh. The mind set on the flesh is death. What does it actually mean? Well, we're stuck in destructive habits. Pathways in the brain become hardwired. This is interesting because it's I do. I remember my background is was training all over the world, and I would relate to it similar to a record, and there's a groove in the record. And if I would do these habits over and over again, the groove would get deeper and deeper, and it was harder to change the needle and move it to a different song almost. So have you begun to notice how as you pray more or worship more and put your attention on the creator and not just ourselves, that these pathways start to change? And naturally we move to fear and anger. We move away from fear and anger, and we start to feel something different. But yet, when we're in those grooves, we have little self control or empathy. It feels chaotic and self centered. And so, science is actually showing that stress and selfish living actually shrink parts of our brain tied to kindness and reasoning. So, it's scientifically proven that when we don't spend time in worship or real or know the God of God, liberty, love and liberty and truth, that actually what begins to happen is our brain naturally has our attention move away from kindness and reasoning. So something to ponder: if our minds get trapped like this, what could ever set them free? Only love and deep connection heal the brain's fear circuits. And actually, I'm not talking about religion. This is not about religion at all. Religion actually can generally be a problem. And Christ was not a fan of religion whatsoever. This is about designing reality. The more in tune we get in reality, we're right now, some people are sailing on the seas right now, and literally they're heading in a certain direction. And if the GPS says they're anything other than they are, and if the GPS is giving them some sort of false indication of the location, that's not reality and it's dangerous. Well, when we relate to the world as if it's reality of the structure of things, we can actually navigate more effectively. That's design. That's not religion, that's design. That's how the world's actually designed. And the way reality works is when we surrender to Christ, the creation, not the creation, the creator who created creation. So as some people are sailing and moving, there's creation all around us. It's beautiful. And creation is moving, creation's in front of us. That's a creation. I used to think, wow, it's so beautiful. I'm going to worship this creation. But I realized that there's a creator behind the creation that's unfolding. And if anyone is in Christ, they are new to create. They are new in creation. So are you saying that when we come to Christ, we become a new creation? Yeah, that's actually not what I'm saying. That's actually what the scriptures say. And I used to kind of not believe the scriptures, but I realized, I said, wait a minute, wait a minute. There was over 2,000 prophecies in the scriptures themselves. And of the 2,000 prophecies, 1,500 of them have actually come true. And the probability of that is actually impossible. For even 8 prophecies to come true is 7 to something power, where it's actually scientifically impossible. You'd have to be on a helicopter all top of Texas with a bunch of 50-cent coins, and the probability of even 8 prophecies coming true the way they did, you would literally drop a dime and be able to call, a 50-cent piece and be able to call it where it goes on the map of Texas. And 1,500 of those have happened. So that's pretty hard to deny. Letting go and trusting God lights up the brain peace and self-control centers. So what you're saying is that when we let go, we actually have more self-control. Yeah. Let go to the creator that's creating the beautiful creation that we're all seeing right now. I know for myself that I've held grudges before, and when I hold grudges, it actually creates more stress in my life. So it's like, there's many teachings about forgiving and how that actually creates less harm for ourselves as well. Grace is a beautiful thing that when we embrace grace, it rewires how we see ourselves and the shame. Even after all the ceremonies and all the self-help work and all that, there was a shame in the secret and hidden parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. And grace unlifted those. And so people who practice forgiveness have better immune systems, lower blood pressure, and healthier brains. We on this I live in a very small community, and there's a lot of people that are 75 plus years old. And you can tell the people who are bitter, that are older age, and they don't forgive. Whether they're Christian or not, or however they live, they just don't forgive. They just become bitter. The older they get, the more and more bitter they become. And then there's people who forgive. They forgive others. Life is going to have things you're going to have to forgive for. And I know for myself that there's always room to forgive, and I just feel better. And the people that forgive, they're just lighter, they have better immune systems, and they live longer. So if human forgiveness heals this much, what happens when God forgives you? And so prayer plus surrendering boosts brain pathways that connect emotion and logic, creating deeper resilience. Some people that are listening to this, they train people under high intense pressures, in potentially in hostage situations and things like that. And resilience resilience is built. And if we want to have higher resilience, ultimately, when we're able to to pray and surrender, we create resilience not just emotionally, but actually physically as well. And so we need to renew our minds. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so continuous daily renewal. I used to think it was just like, oh, it's kind of I'll fit it in when I can. But now I've realized it's actually as important as food. When we create these habits, we create new pathways and we become what we worship. And if we worship a religious God of legalistic view that's punishing, then we become that. But the true God is a God of love, liberty, and truth. And naturally, we become what we worship, and it boosts our joy. And especially the joy of serving others, that actually biochemically changes how we're designed. Because we're designed this way as human beings. And it gives us a natural gratitude. It's not something you have to work on, it just seems to happen. And so, if we repeat truth, if repeated truth builds new habits, what happens when your whole life is about Christ? There's that if we put him as number one, the creator as number one, it actually has biological shifts. If we repeated focus, it becomes automatic. It's lasting change. It's like new habits. And so when we become a spirit-led life, not religious, I mean spirit-led, ultimate, and we make sure we're worshiping the creator, not some plant. The fruit of the spirit is love, joy, and peace. And that becomes the new normal. Remember that whole time in life when there was the new normal? Well, they were high. So we're going to talk about the new normal, as in joy, love, and peace. Mental health improves, anxiety, sadness, it loses grip. Relationships thrive. And so when we fill our life with faith, we report being fulfilled and joyful in life. It's actually measurable. And so if the Spirit produces fruit, shouldn't all people see this in us? Well, religious devotion to better health, happiness can be linked to this. And so here's a trajectory. So without Christ, our brain naturally is more fear driven, plain and simple. And when I say Christ, that's the creator. That is the creator. Our brain is fear driven and reacted, and daily life is more self focused and anxious. I know for myself that when we surrender, just naturally there's this weird peace that comes about, and there's actually hope. This world is so weird, like that song in the beginning. Like we just need Jesus. There's just insanity out there at times, and if that becomes normalized in this world, we don't get to renew our minds. And we got to build stability within ourselves. And as we begin to live a spirit-filled life, uh, joy and love overflow. Purpose becomes normal and peace. This isn't just fantasy. This is as real as what you're seeing in front of you. This is how God designed us to heal and flourish, because this is our design. We are meant to worship. The question is, what God are we worshiping? We will worship something. It's part of the design. And if we worship anything other than the Creator itself, then literally we are off path. And so the final reflection is this: is following Christ the most powerful path to heal real human flourishing? What are you where are you right now in this process? Have you fully trusted him? And of course, it takes we're all this is not about telling you to do something. This is actually about employing your own logic and reasoning to make sure it makes logical sense for you, because everyone will be convinced in their own mind and heart. And this isn't about force, because our God is a God of love, liberty, and truth. This is actually about choosing and opening our heart to that. Are you ready to let him in and rewire your whole life for love and freedom? Jesus said, I came so they may have life and have it to the full, to the full. This is what he meant, and it's real. And so what a gift. what a gift life is. And so thank you for listening on that.